In this video, we're going to go over the print setting options inside of the Total Control U software. As you can see, I have a design load on the screen, and I specifically chose this one because it's a pretty large design. If I select it, you'll notice it's over 11 inches tall by over 8.5 inches wide. So let's go ahead and take a look at what options we do have. So first of all, you can go to the File menu and you can choose to print, and that will open up your print window, but that's not how I recommend going into it. You can also go to Print Setup here under File, Print Setup, and choose the printer you want. But what you really want to do before printing a design is to go to the Print Preview. Now you can access it under File, Print Preview, or you can just click on the icon right here. That's what I typically do. When you click the Print Preview icon, it's going to open up the print settings, and so you can see that the whole work page changes a little bit. We have gray on the outsides, and you don't see your properties box or sequence view. So this setup just allows us to focus on what we're wanting to print. Now, some of the options that we have here, a lot of people don't realize, is that you have this option to print it, but right next to it you have a next page where you can go page down. So if there's another page after this one that's showing, you can click that icon and it will show you the next page, which is actually the color analysis. And you'll notice that it grayed out because there's no more pages following it, but I can go back to the previous page by clicking this icon. Now, if you're working on a widescreen and you have a lot of screen available, or you have the software really big inside of on your computer, you can click this toggle 1-2 pages display right here. And if I do that, it's going to show me both pages side by side. Now, you have to have really enough real estate to do it, but you can see that I can view them both side by side. So let's take a look at some of the settings you have too. But before I do that, this zoom, you can click to zoom in, and once it grays out, that's as far as you can go, and then you can hit the zoom out, and that will get you back to the smallest size you can be inside of it. So let's click on settings. Settings is where you will be able to change how everything looks of what you're going to be printing out. So first of all, if you're working with something where you need it to actually print out at the actual size, like if you're going to use something like a template tearaway product by Floriani, or anything else that you might need it at the exact size of the design, you can click on this icon right here that says print actual size, and if I check that and I hit OK, you're going to notice it's going to change on the screen. And the reason is because this design is bigger than a sheet of paper, so it's going to force it onto multiple pages. So now if I go and I scroll down, you can see that I'm getting access to all the different pages we have here. So there's 4 pages here, and we can go back up. So if you ever open the print preview and you see this, and I can close it off of this view. If you, even right here where you only see one page, you only see part of the design, that's because you have print actual size selected, and the design is actually larger than what can be printed. So if I take that back off, you'll notice it'll come back to size, so where it'll all fit on one page. So the other things you have here are the print color analysis. Let me go ahead and cancel this. I'm going to bring this back up to go side by side here so you can see this. And if I uncheck that and hit OK, you'll notice that it goes away. And the reason is because I'm chosen not to print the color analysis. If I go back and press OK, you can see the color analysis comes back up. Other things you have is if you have notes in your design, this is a nice little feature where it'll actually print notes that you put in there, like for applique and things like that. You can also choose the option to print in one page. This is something that I do a lot. because I don't necessarily care if I see the little icons here of what's going to be stitched at what point. So I usually will click on print in one page and hit OK. And what that does is it takes away the color analysis over here, and it brings down the colors down at the bottom of the page. And this is the order in which the design will stitch out. So you can follow along by looking at this on the page. So it's the option that I typically go with, and that's just a personal preference. So if I uncheck that and hit OK, it'll bring back that color analysis over here. And we go back into the print settings, and you have the option to print a hoop. So if you had a hoop showing on your screen, it'll print that. I don't typically recommend it because a lot of times that will force it into 2 pages for a print, and I just don't think it's necessary. You can show the crosshair right here, or you can that's on by default. You can uncheck it and press OK, and it will remove it. So that's something that is very helpful if you're doing something onto like the Floriani template tearaway or something like that. It helps to have that crosshair if you're going to try to line up a design on the garment or material. The other thing you can do is do thick crosshairs. So this is something, if you are going to use like a template product, I definitely recommend clicking the thick crosshair. I'll show you the difference by just bringing that back up, and then I'm going to go back in and do thick now, and you'll just notice the thickness of this line right here. So I have thick crosshair, hit OK, and it's just going to make it more bold. So like on a template product, the ink will really soak in, and so it's really difficult to see if you use just the regular crosshairs. The other thing you have is artwork mode. Now, if you remember in this design, I had some text underneath this butterfly, and that was in artwork. By default, artwork isn't turned on. So if I have artwork in the design that I want to print along with the embroidery design, all I need to do is click this box right here and press OK, and you'll see that artwork now comes up right here. And it doesn't show up in the sequence view, and the reason it doesn't is because it's artwork and not stitches, so it's not going to be stitched out at a machine. And let's see, other things you have like stitch mode, print thick stitches. That just will make it really thick and bold. It almost makes it basically look like artwork. You can play around with these. You're not going to hurt anything. And the great thing about it is if you click on something and hit OK and you don't like it, you can always go right back to settings and uncheck it, check something else, however you want to do it. So you don't have to worry about it messing anything up. So the other things here are you have like design colors. That's another feature that is actually kind of nice. If you're working with a design that has a lot of color changes in it, but maybe it uses the same color multiple times, and you're wanting to get your machine ready for embroidery, it can be nice to click this design colors and hit OK, because what it's going to do is it's going to actually just tell you what colors you need. So in here you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Over here you have 7 color sequences, and the reason is because there is a color that's being used twice right here. So by printing this out, it eliminates the duplicates and just lets you know these are the colors that you need for your project. So it's kind of a nice feature to have, especially on those really large designs that have a lot of colors and where it uses the color multiple times in the same design. So that's a nice feature to have. Print design notes. That's something that is also nice. I don't have any notes in here, but I can show you where those are at. And then you have this Floriani cat, and that's for using like a brother machine that has the camera system in it to help line up a design. This cat will actually, it'll print one out onto the page. Let's see, let me go ahead and turn this off and turn that on. You can see that this little cat right there, it'll print this on top of this paper, and it will be able to be recognized by the brother machine. So there'll be other videos that show how to use that. And then you also have a title. Like I can put a title in right here, and if I type that in, it will print that up at the top. So those are the different options you have that you can view different things. Like I said, I typically have it to where I print it on one page. I don't ever print it at actual size, and that's basically how I utilize it. Now you do have the options for your print margins, and this is just how much space from top, bottom, left, and right will be kind of used up, or it won't go into that area. And the print won't, it'll come in and down. So you might want to adjust that depending on your printer. Your printer might require you to have a little bit more at the top and the bottom than what you see, and you can change that. So if you want it to be 0.39 all the way around, you could change that. Hit OK, and you can see that now I have more space there, so I'm not going to run the risk of something not printing. But those are the different settings that you have, and once you get the design where you want it, you have the ability to just hit the print button, and when you do that, it's going to bring up to where you can select your printer, and it takes you out of the print mode. But let's go back there really quick because I want to point out a couple things to you. So if I come back into the settings, so we had in here the design notes, print design notes, and we also have let's see here, print color analysis. Okay, right here, print notes and notes in the color analysis. Let's see here. I'm trying to figure out. Okay, so I can't have it print in one page to do that, but I'm going to show you what these are. So I'm going to hit OK, and you can see the color analysis is here. This is required in order to see the notes. So let's go ahead and close this really quick. And the design notes is right here in the properties. So if anything is selected on your screen, you won't see that tab, but if you deselect everything, you'll see design notes here. So I can just do this is a test. So I have those notes in there. The other thing is you have notes in your sequence view. So I can come in here, and let's say if I select this piece, let's say that there's something that I want to do, like maybe I want to add a piece of fabric or something, put something else down after this color sequence. I can select the last object in here. I can right mouse click and I can choose to add a note, and it's kind of off my screen right now, but it says add a note, insert it before or after. So I'm going to choose after, and it's going to bring up this notes thing. So I have a couple things here where I can lay a fabric or trim fabric. I can just type something in like add fabric before continuing, and I can save that if I want. But if I press OK, you'll notice in my sequence view I have this little red symbol that says add fabric before printing. So I've added a note in the sequence view, and I've also added notes inside of here in the properties box. So let me go to print preview and let's check this out. So you'll notice in this design, this color analysis right here, you'll notice that it says add fabric before continuing, and that's showing up between color sequence 1 and 2, just like in the design. Notes are kind of, I utilize them a lot with applique. If I create an applique design for somebody, typically I'll put that in there so that if they print this sheet out, they'll know, okay, lay the fabric down now, okay, trim the fabric before continuing, you know, all of those things. I typically will utilize it for that. It's a nice little feature to have. So let's go into the settings here, and you'll notice that print design notes is not selected. So I'm going to click on that and press OK. So you'll notice down at the bottom of this design, it says this is a test. So going back to the design page, this is a test was in the design notes, and then I had this note in the sequence view. So those are where they'll show up in the printout. So just wanted to show you those different options, because a lot of people don't realize that you can do that. You can have as much as you want for these notes here, and you can print them out, and that's where you can put like special instructions, you know, like, so if you create a design and somebody else stitches it out, you can actually put in there, okay, make sure to use this thread color, or make sure you change the needle to a 65/9, you know, for a certain color, because you're going to maybe use 60 weight thread and a smaller needle. You know, anything that you want to put in those design notes, you can do. So it's just kind of a nice little feature to have, and so that's how you access it. And so I just turned it off, you can see, but I did keep the sequence notes there. So I'm gonna hit close, and like I said, you can change this to whatever you want. You can add something in there or not, and you have the ability to print it. So there's a lot of things you can do in printing, a lot of different setting options that you can choose from, and you just need to play around with it and see what you want, how you want it to display. Everyone has their own preference. This is kind of how I do it. I do the print in one page. I like to go that route where I can see the colors I need, and then I can have the color sequence down here that I'm going to use at the machine. I get to see the entire design. I have the header up here. So one other thing that I want to point out is, I'm just looking at this. This is something that is not often thought about, but right here under page 1, it says the width and the height. It says 8.81 inches in width and 11.3 in height. I'm going to go ahead and close this, and I'm going to change my ruler here to metric. And then I'm going to go back into the print preview, and notice that now it says the height and the width in millimeters. And the reason I want to point this out is because a lot of times I work in millimeters when I'm like digitizing a design, but when I come to the point where I want to stitch it out, I want it to show in inches. And so it's just a good reminder that based on your ruler is what's going to show up here for the height and the width. So let me go to close here, and I'm going to come back in. I'm going to right click on this ruler and choose inches. I'm going to go back into print preview, and now it's set up to show me in inches. So the other nice thing is it's telling you how many stitches are in the design right here, 27,904. It tells me what scale this is at. So when it prints it out, it's at about 68.9%. It'll have the date up there, how many colors are in the design. Now, when it says colors here, that's really color sequences, because there's only 6 colors used, but one of the colors is used twice. So this is really the number of color sequences. So that's what you see down here, sequence 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So those are just the little things that you have access to, or that prints out with the design. So I hope that you'll play around with the print preview settings. It's always good to print out the design before you stitch it so that you have all the information that you need at your fingertips when you're actually stitching it out. So hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll see you in the next one.